All right, should we get started?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm so excited to start this project with you, and I figured today we should start, since this is our first one, with a little backstory of how we kind of came up with this idea and why you are our first guest. So several weeks back in October, we were talking. You had messaged me because I had commented on an episode of Sin Filtro saying that they needed to have you on the show. And you were like, why? Like, can I just ask you, like, why do you want to hear from me? Like, what do you want to hear? And I was like, well, I want to hear about your experience with bachata, and I want to hear your perspective to all these questions that Biscuit asks all the time to the traditional artists on Sin Filtro. And from there, our conversation kind of morphed into this discussion about how so many voices are left out of these podcasts and these interview shows, right? Because they're mainly focusing on the big name instructors, performers, organizers, DJs, right? But there's so many smaller level community organizers that are left off, or even just social dancers that have so much to give, and they have their own stories and their own passions, and they're such an enormous part of our scene. Like, without social dancers, we wouldn't have DJs to play, we wouldn't have anyone to play music for. We wouldn't have events to organize. We wouldn't have anyone to pay for our lessons. Like, like, they drive the scene. So I remember, like, I went to a yoga class right after, and as I'm going through, like, my flow, I'm like, we should do a show, like, where we just talk about social dancing. And then when I messaged you, you were like, actually, I was thinking the same thing. Right? So
Yes.
fast
So
forward,
weird.
here we are. Yeah, so
Here we are.
I'm so excited for this. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, is there anything you wanted to add to my story? Any opinions on that?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming up with this great idea. This is the example of how to add something valuable to the community. I love the idea. So, and thank you for having me and to, how do you say, like, start off by having me here. And yeah, so I'm so excited, and it's going to be very exciting and interesting to see, like, where you're going to take this project and who you're going to bring here for the next time and so on, and see what everybody has to say, and so that everybody can share their stories. And I think also this is a great way for us to get to know each other. And yeah, like, just like you said, to to bring up people's voices. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Thank
it's
you,
my
thank you.
pleasure.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so to get us started, just briefly tell us, like, who you are, where you live.
Okay, so my name is Isolde Löfvenholm. I'm from Sweden, Gothenburg, where I live, and I'm raised here. And I'm raised here with my Swedish mom. I'm half Dominican, but I did not grow up with my father, so I did not grow up in a Dominican setting, like in the Dominican culture. I had to found that side of my roots by myself, and discover, and going back to DR, and yeah. What more do you want to know?
I think that's a great start,
Mm-hmm.
especially because you recently mentioned that to me. I think in that conversation we were talking about, and I was so surprised because when I met you, what, 3 years ago at Carlos Cinta's teacher training in Chicago, right?
Wait, it freezed.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully,
Yeah, sorry.
we'll get the final video that everything's okay. But yeah, so I met you
Yeah.
3 years ago at Carlos Cinta's teacher training in Chicago, and I had already seen you on videos with Adam Taub dancing. So I thought you were like this famous instructor, this amazing dancer, and I also assumed, like, I made the false assumption that you were really like you had grown up in your Dominican culture. So when you mentioned that, I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
what? You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you also briefly mentioned in that conversation um, how you found bachata. So do you want to talk about your first experience with bachata?
Yeah, I would love to dive into that if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, I would say it's a bit of a long story. I will try to keep it kind of short, but
Okay.
I have the tendency to run off with it, so so
Okay.
bear with me. Um, yeah, but just like you said, actually, there's been so many that's been thinking the same thing as you, that I grew up with the dance and just like every other Dominican, but no, I did not. So that's why I also feel like it's important for me to share that side of my story, how I got into the dance. Okay, so let's see. I would say like, um, okay,
I remember
let's.
you told me the musical artist that you heard first. Do you remember that?
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's true. So my first impression, like my first contact with bachata, was of course the music, and it was Aventura. It was when they came out with Obsession, like back in like 2001 or 2002 or something like that, and I was just a teenager. So this music was playing on MTV, and right away I fell in love with the music. Like as soon as I knew that we're Dominicans too, I always wanted to connect to that part of my roots. Like living here in Sweden, I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to connect with my Dominican side. So I remember like being a teenager, I would play their songs and try to learn Spanish by their lyrics. Like I would go into the internet and find the lyrics and I would practice them. And so I would listen to Aventura, but I didn't know any other bachata music, like until I went there to live there for a few months in DR. I went there 2010, and I stayed there for like 7 months so that I could reconnect with my roots and family and learn Spanish. So, um, so I would say like after that whole trip, the music that I came home to Sweden with, was bachata and dembow. So that's how I got into like finding the music, connecting to the music, and dancing wise, it's another story. So dancing would be back in 2008, I had a boyfriend who introduced me to what 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 he thought was bachata, like what everybody's saying was bachata, basically. So I would call this modern bachata because there was some videos blowing up around that time, and so he was also a big Aventura fan, and so I remember he showed me like the basic side basic,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't stick with me. I was like, I don't know, it just, I was not curious, and I don't know, I was like, honestly, I wasn't that interested. of what I saw. So he actually was the one who introduced me to dancing salsa. So I started dancing salsa. I went to salsa dance schools, and like let's fast forward a couple of years, and it's, let's say, 2013, and I'm at the school dancing salsa. And as I'm like always waiting on my dance classes, they would have bachata dance classes. What I didn't know around that time was that they were dancing sensual, because as I said, I did not grow up Dominican, and I didn't know anything about dance. And the little that I've already had seen here in Europe was not my cup of tea. Like I was like, I wasn't curious. And I remember my mom was always like, why don't you want to, like, she's, even though she's Swedish, she has always been very encouraged.
So you were saying your mom, even though she's Swedish, she's always been very encouraging to you to connect with your Dominican side?
Yeah, exactly. So I remember one time.
So let's pick it back up where you started talking about the dance classes.
Okay, yeah. So as I was sitting and waiting for my salsa dance classes, my teachers would try to lure me into their sensual class, get me to join their class. So I would, like, uh, one or two times, and then I felt like, nah, like this is not my thing. I'm gonna stick to salsa. And then after the class, somebody said like, "But you're Dominican. How come you don't dance bachata?" And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm Dominican, but I don't know anything about bachata, and this is not this is not for me. Like, I love the music, but I'm fine with just loving the music. And then a friend told me, a dance friend, he was like, but maybe you would like Dominican bachata. And it's fast music, fast footwork, and it's just different. Like, you know what they always used to say. And this is 2013. Let's not forget about that. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's more my thing, because I have danced carnival samba for several years, like all my teens. So, and I also, before salsa, I was dancing a lot of house. So I'm more like, for me, dancing, it's easier to express myself from like the waist and down, like from, yeah. I'm not so much with arms and doing, yeah.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that would be more my thing. I didn't even know there was such a thing as he was like, yeah, but this is sensual bachata, and maybe you would like Dominican bachata. You know, I did not know this. So that got me a little bit curious. And then what actually really motivated me into start learning was a conversation that, unfortunately, it made me really upset. Like, I felt really offended for my Dominican part and culture. So this was in a conversation with my dance teacher, and we were talking about what kind of music we listen to versus the music we dance to. Is the sound okay? Yeah. So in that conversation, I went like, I dance salsa, I love salsa, but when I'm at home, ever since I've been to DR 3 years, like when I started go to DR 3 years ago, around that time, I was everything I listen to is bachata when I'm at home. So like that's the music I picked up, but I don't know how to dance bachata. And she went like, but I'm a bachatera and I also love bachata. And I was like, okay, great, let me put on some music. So I put on the music that, is bachata. I don't remember what it was, but it could be like anything from Anthony Santos to Frank Reyes, Zacarias Ferreira. And I was so shocked by her reaction because she went, no, 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 that's Dominican music. That's Dominican bachata. No, she went, that's Dominican bachata. That music is annoying. It's too much plingy, 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 plong. And oh my God. And I was like, what? But you call yourself bachatera. So in that moment, something just clicked inside of me like, girl, you're Dominican, because I felt so offended for the culture and the music. And she also went, no, but what we do is professional bachata. We because they dance modern and sensual.
Mm-hmm.
And she went like, this is professional, this is advanced dancing with a lot of techniques and stuff like that. But if you look at a Dominican,
Okay.
if you look at a Dominican, when they dance,
Oh, you froze for a second there.
and then you have other people also saying like, Dominicans don't know how to dance bachata. So I was so offended by this, and I went home and I was like, Mom, I got some good and bad news, but I'm gonna learn how to dance bachata. So that's what's really motivated me to start digging into what's bachata. And as I did that, like I went on Google and YouTube, and all I could found around this time was Georgette, Troy and Georgette. So I would sit on YouTube and try to mimic what she was doing, like try to practice, trying to learn bachata through her workshops, demonstrations, and stuff like that. And it was really hard. So I didn't get it because it was footwork and syncopated steps, and I it just didn't sink in to me.
Mm-hmm.
So then one day, Mom, because my mom is my superhero, so she knew that I really wanted to learn this. So she had dig up some good information, and she was like, I found a perfect guy for you. Like, this guy, he's perfect. you know Everybody says like he brings the real deal, like this is what you really want, if you want to learn how to dance like a Dominican. And I'm like, okay, like what more? And she's like, he will break down the music and really get you into understanding. And so this was Carlos Cinta. So what I ended up doing was buying his online classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through them. And for me, this is such important for me to add this to my story, because I would say, and he would not agree with this, but I would say he's the one who taught me how to dance bachata. Because through his classes, he provided me with all the foundation, the understanding for the music, and he has myth busters and like so much of value in those classes. And he actually had a little bit of footwork, like the slides and everything in there too.
He likes to
um,
pretend he doesn't have those things, but he does.
yeah, he does. So I went through them like by myself. I didn't have anybody to dance with. I did practice like with the friend that had invited, no, not invited me, that had informed me of Dominican bachata. You know, I practiced with him like one time, and he's like, let's get so good at this, and like let's get good at this and then fuse this with other dances, and like then teach this and take over the world. And I'm like, No, that is
No,
not.
that's
No.
what I've been trying to avoid.
Exactly. I was like, no, that's not the goal here. I just want to feel like I can connect to my culture and feel like I can dance like a Dominican. Like for me, that was so important. So I was like, no, we're not gonna go that way. um, yeah. So so then I ended up like going to Bachata. I took Calocinta's workshop. I took Georgette. I took Sammy, Edwin, and Daniela. Mm, and this was like when I was really, really starting out. Like I, for me, I could barely social dance when I went there.
What year were you in Bachatu?
This is 2014. So this
Okay,
is,
that was the year
yeah.
before I went. But
Ah,
as I hear your story, there's like a lot of parallels between when you were learning, like the time we were both learning from Georgette was the same time because I started dancing in 2010, but people tried to infect me with like the traditional bachata. It's just like this tingy tingy, like annoying. But eventually, because I went to DR, um, I learned that that was not true. I came back loving that music,
mm,
but Georgette was also my first, and I
mm.
wanted to be like her, which is very hard. And
Yeah.
there's only one Georgette. She's the only one that dances like that. And then
Mm.
I met Carlos Cinta end of 2013, going into 2014. I started hiring him. So it's like your path
Uh-huh.
and mine, like as we were learning bachata, we're following the same path. And I went to Bachatu in 2015. So I was there the year after you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that year I did not go, no. Yeah. Damn. So that's so interesting,
Yeah, I
actually.
know. It's like we are two ships like crossing paths.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that because I guess like when other people will watch this, they will probably recognize the things that we are talking about too. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um and after that, like I found this group on Facebook, and if Bachata could talk, if you've ever heard about the
I
infamous
have
group.
it. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
stressful group.
Yeah, I know, but actually like that group, it gave me so much information because it, for me, that was like a portal kind of to into the bachata community. So connecting with other people that know a lot about bachata, that has this passion for bachata, and just I was like there just sinking in the information that people were giving. And you would see different instructors, and dance videos, a lot of dance videos from DR were shared. So I would just be at home and take one of those videos and practice, trying to learn and get like the feeling and the movement. And one day I remember I was like, I took a video of Mitch Bachata from Paris. Do you
Mhm.
know him? And
I think I've heard of him. Was Mitch Bachata class? Does he go by
yeah,
that on Facebook? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he was very active around this time too. So there was a video of him and a Dominican girl. I think her name was Esther. She had like red pants, I remember. And I was like, I love how she moves. So I would play the video, and I told myself like, because I didn't have anybody to practice with. So this is what I did to learn. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can mimic what she does, and like I'm social dancing with him, and then I could like probably say that I know how to dance bachata. So I practiced it for like one day, and I was like, oh my god, I nailed it. So the same day, yeah, I was so thrilled by that actually. So the same day I went out to a social dance here that had like this Dominican bachata music, um how do you say, focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Gothenburg is a sensual dance city. So there was just a small group of people, having a social. And that night, I got to know so many Dominicans here in Gothenburg, like five of them, and I didn't even know any Dominicans here. So from that on, we started to go out and like social dance and going out to the clubs and dance together. So that way I could practice what I have got from Carlos Cinta's classes and what I have seen in videos online, and actually starting to dance. And I'm almost finished with my story here. I've been going on for quite a while now. I know. No, but like a few months after that, I went to the VESA DR6 festival,
Mhm.
so that he had in DR. So I met Carlos Cinta there, and Adam Tab, and Rodolfo, Nanda, Maria von Bailamar. And I remember the first evening, like when there was a social dance, Carlos Cinta told me, he was like, this is the first time I ever see you dance. And I'm like, okay, because I look up to him. So I was like, okay, what are you gonna tell me? He's like, you dance exactly like a Dominican, because he knew I had learned by him. And I'm like, oh my God, that coming from you is such a huge compliment.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, Carlos doesn't give out compliments he does not mean at all.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. So I was like, oh wow, thank you. And he told me like, no, 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 you don't understand. You need to teach. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm I'm just beginning. I'm like, I'm here to learn. I'm here to take your classes and learn from you guys. Like, he's like,
Mhm.
no, you dance exactly like a Dominican. So even him, he was like, have you really learned from me? And I was like, yeah, I, I did. I'm not lying. So, so yeah, from that on, that festival was amazing. I got to know so many wonderful people and in the community. And from that on, Carlos Cinta started to mentoring me, like, um, you know, starting to send me, how do I say, like, lessons, no, challenges, homework,
Yeah.
yeah, of how to teach somebody. Like, he would send me a video and like, okay, if this was your student, like what would you recommend for this person, and like what advice and how would you teach them, and trying to mentor me that way to prepare me for teaching. But I was still not. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just wanting to learn. So that's how I got into this bachata world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mm.
You answered so many of the questions like I had written down, so don't worry about your story being a long time because like I was going to ask a lot of these things anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so funny the way you finished it because I had made a note here in my questions. Like when I met you at Carlos Cinta's event, I thought you were this like famous teacher and stuff, and then in the classes, I don't remember how I said it, but when it became clear like you were not teaching and you were not like necessarily loving the idea of it, but both of us were like feeling that way. Like I was there because I'm a teacher professionally. I teach Spanish to kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love the idea of teaching bachata, but I never quite felt ready with my own dancing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still there to support Carlos and to see what he wanted like to give
Mm-hmm.
us. So yeah, anyways, I remember I just being like shocked when you were like, I'm not teaching, like this stresses me out. This like what am I
Exactly.
doing here? I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, yeah. I ended up going to his teacher training, like in the last minute, because I was at that point in my life, I had actually taken kind of a break from bachata. Uh, I think the teacher training was 2018, right? The spring 2018.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was 2017, but you could be right.
yeah. So I was like, I was studying something in school that I didn't feel like this was something for me, and I feel like there's something special with bachata, and I feel like it's kind of a calling for me. I feel like it. So because I feel like I've been so blessed with how I ended up being here. And
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like there's so many that has the same impression of me, that I was already famous, and and there I am, like trying to learn how to teach, and like having my own struggles and being timid and stuff like that. So um so I ended up going to the teacher training, because I was like, no, this is the way direction I want to go in my life. And yeah, so I was so thankful that I could go there and be part of that. That was really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's also okay. Like, I know you are, you have done teaching, um, in Sweden, but I think it's also important to recognize that not everybody that's a good dancer has those aspirations to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at DR, there's tons of amazing dancers, right? Because they
Mm,
grow up with it, they practice their whole lives, they listen to bachata every day, they dance bachata constantly, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to teach it. It's just something that's in them, and that's
yeah.
okay. And honestly, I feel like we should be cultivating more social dancers that just want to be really freaking good social dancers and
Mm,
don't necessarily care about the attention being on them, or teaching others, or making it a job,
mm,
because that part is pretty exhausting. Like, from my perspective, like, another reason I've never really taught was because I was busy, like, organizing events and DJing and like promoting things. It was like, what else do I have to give if I start teaching? And that's something I probably still will come back around to, after COVID, when we can get together again, because I am feeling that I really want to give that to people here.
mm,
But I think it's equally awesome when people just want to be a really good social dancer.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like for me, my dream was never to be a bachata dance teacher. Like, I think that it's that's why, I mean, like I feel blessed because I have so many people supporting me, without like encouraging me to go that direction. Like they have, like, everybody has been like, you have to teach, like you should teach, like come on girl, what are you waiting for? you know and I love that, because I love the fact that they believe in me. But it hasn't been a role that has come natural to me, definitely. But it's something that I'm willing to work on, to grow into, definitely. So like, because we need to challenge ourselves and grow as a human being and as a person. So for me, that's why I also want to go that direction, to push myself. And if people feel like I have something of value, then of course I want to help them and to share that with them. So I'm very I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's okay to grow into things on your own time. I've
Yeah.
definitely been there where I was like, oh, everyone wants me to do this, I need to grow into it, but not everything happens quickly, and sometimes maybe that's not your path, so you just got to kind of like follow it where it
Mm,
takes you.
yeah. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not pushing anything, I'm not forcing anything. Like, if there's somebody who wants to take private classes, then I give them private classes. And if opportunity pops up, then I would consider it. Like, but yeah. So when I have been teaching with Adam and others, it's been because they have invited me and asked me to join in, and I'm very I'm very humbled for that. So
Yeah. Well, you
yeah.
totally deserve that.
Oh, thank you. And
Yeah.
you should start teaching too. You should.
Yeah, I think the
Right.
time is coming. I had some dreams about it a month or so ago where I was teaching bachata and I was like, what is this? Like it's the middle of a pandemic. I can't just start teaching. So I think that's coming. I think that's coming finally. Um, but I needed all this downtime, I think, to realize that. Like I needed to cut out a lot of the busyness because I
Mm,
was letting myself get booked for a lot of events and traveling, and they would be my friends' events or really fun events where I could see my friends. And so I
mm,
wanted to do that, but I also kind of I was like exhausting myself with it
mm,
all, you know.
yeah.
So I think this time has been very good for me to realize like I want more balance and I want to be able to give more to my local dancers and help
Mm,
them
mm,
connect to this music, because even one of the things I see, and this isn't exclusively locally, this is like everywhere, is kind of back to what you said, even though it was like, what year did you say, like 2013, like the ideas people have in their head of what Dominican bachata is
yeah.
it's just so skewed. Like people who have messaged me like, oh, I could teach Dominican bachata too, should hire me. And it's like, Dominican bachata is not a syncopated footwork step. Like that's not what it is. Like you have to change your whole flow of dancing. You change the
Mm,
way you connect to the
mm,
music, the way you connect to the ground, the way you use your body movement. Like your entire like swing and your dance is different. And it's exactly what you said earlier. Like you're someone who likes to connect from the hips down. I'm the
mm,
same. Like there was a time where I thought I really wanted to dance Central Bachata when it
mhm,
first started, before it got like super into tricks and it was stuff you couldn't follow. But
mm,
I
mm,
kind of learned like all these arm things
mhm,
don't make me feel connected to myself or to the
yeah.
music.
Yeah.
But when I learned the flow of bachata as it's danced in DR, that was magical for me. You know, so I want to share that and give that opportunity to people who might be more like us, that might say like, I don't really like dancing up here, but when
Mm,
I connect to the floor, something
mm,
happens for me, you know?
yes.
So, if there's one thing you could change about either your specific dance community or the dance community at large, what would you change?
Mm,
Now, this is
such a
I could answer it, but I figured I would throw it out there.
Oh, oh, you can answer it? Yeah, go ahead. No, but I would say like the titles, the titles of the dance. Um, can we just let Dominican bachata be bachata? That would be that would be a great start, so that it wouldn't confuse, like the fusions wouldn't be confusing what's bachata and it's not. Um, maybe people won't like that answer, but yeah, that's I think it's really important that let bachata be bachata by its real name.
I
Mm,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of emotions wrapped up in that one, and people who love modern
Mm,
bachata and in bachata sensual, I don't think they want to let go of the current name because, they love it so much, and I get it, but I think it's really confusing in the fact that people aren't really faithful to using the names all the
mm,
time. They'll use
yeah.
bachata as an overall term, and when you start doing that and
Mm,
everything's bachata, it takes away from what bachata actually is. Like it takes away that clarity. And that's why we often have to use the words Dominican bachata or traditional bachata or authentic bachata to clarify. But like for years I heard that name at like
Mm,
DC Bachata Congress here, which is a super big festival, but like I was never interested in the name authentic bachata. That
mm.
like, even though authentic should be such a powerful word, it
Yeah.
didn't call to me, it didn't educate me, it didn't entice me, you know, it was worthless, you know. And had there just been more fidelity to using names a little better, like
Mm,
maybe if I was like, oh, okay, so this is modern bachata fusion, this
mm,
is central bachata fusion, what is bachata, like that probably would have led to me finding
mm.
bachata sooner, I think. So
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
get
I
down with that.
agree. I agree because that's kind of just as my story, because I didn't know, because they were saying, they were not being specific and like
Mhm.
saying this is sensual, this is sensual. They would, they would know probably, like the teachers of course, and but they would have like on the schedule bachata. And you know, this stuff like this still happens, that in a dance school they will have the schedule, it would say bachata, and they will have modern or sensual bachata in the dance class. But if it's Dominican bachata, you know, they would have Dominican bachata style, and then they will have bachata when it comes to the other dances, and it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So, and just like you said, if I would have known from the start that this was a fusion that I was seeing here in Sweden, then maybe I would have, like, it wouldn't have taken me such a long way to know what was the difference, you know, and what was really bachata.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, it could be my own ignorance. Like when I started going to DR, I wasn't paying attention to bachata dancing because I had already made up my mind what I was seeing here, as bachata was not interesting for me, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
No.
totally understand.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. What's one good vibe thing you would add more of to the bachata community or to the dance community at large?
God, you have such hard questions.
I know. I know.
I think like this, what you are doing here, this is a perfect example of a good vibe thing that we need to add into the community. Like connecting more and sharing our stories and like sharing our love and experiences and our knowledge about bachata. This is what we need more of. Uh, so I'm stealing your idea.
We co-created this idea. There's no stealing involved. No, but I agree. I feel like, you know, when I was a new dancer, there were veteran dancers before me. They were salseros, but they had so many stories about when they went here and they got to meet this person, and nights where they were up and they were at a diner and they were having breakfast. Like, you know, there's just all these stories that people have, and we miss them when we don't focus on all the dancers, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I totally
Yeah,
agree with your answer.
yeah. And I
Okay.
think like one thing I'm trying to do is, you know, I have a YouTube channel. So I try to how do you say it, like trying to cut down some barriers that we can see in this community, that it's too polished. Okay, and I myself have some struggles of trying to be a perfectionist, like, you know, but I'm challenging myself and showing the rawness of it all. Like there's room for making mistakes and missing a beat, and just social dancing and like real life moments. And you know, not everything has to be choreographed and cut off, or you know, just I'm trying to bring some authenticity in what I do, at least when I upload my videos on YouTube.
I love that. I feel like there was a period of time when I was wasting a lot of my joy in dance, worrying about whether I was doing my best, whether I was growing. Like all my dances, in order to be fun, had to be like as high of a level as I could manage. And if it wasn't at that level, which when you dance with certain people, it just can't be because they're not there. And I was wasting a lot of my own joy. And I would also get really mad or embarrassed if I wasn't able to follow or if I messed up. And now it's like, I mean, I'm still working on shedding that mindset. It was put there by the expectations of the social dance community at large. But I find way more joy in dancing when I can laugh, when I make a mistake and I bust out laughing, right?
Yeah.
And especially if I can laugh with that person, and like, it's just the thing. Like everybody messes up. It's okay. Like it doesn't ruin your dance. It's not something you have to perseverate on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we
Yeah.
definitely need to bring more rawness.
Yeah, so thank you for adding that, because I feel exactly the same. Like the pressure that's on you to perform and be perfect, and you know, so
It's
that's why
crap.
I'm yeah,
It's
that's
crap.
why I'm trying to break those barriers for us, for us all. That we don't need to be perfect. Like this is the whole social media thing also. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very
Yeah.
happy that you share that your own thoughts and feelings around that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So last two questions. We're gonna wrap it up here. So after your whole journey from like 2001, 2002 until now, what does bachata mean to you at this point in your life? I know this is
Oh.
another one that's probably hard to articulate.
Yeah, it is, because there's so much to say, but bachata is like it's my baby. So
That's
I
cute.
feel very protective of her, and I just want to see her grow and flourish, and I want to share that joy and love with everybody. But bachata means for me, it's connection. This is what we are doing right now, and sharing the love for the music with your friends, and feeling the lyrics and the emotions is like it's therapeutic for me. The like having the music, and I always say like bachata gets me. you know
I love
so
that. Bachata gets
yeah,
me.
just expressing through the music and through the dancing, creating, it brings me so much joy. But what it means to me, it's all of that. And what I love about it also is the connection that it has brought to me in my life. Like all the friendships, it's like a family. I feel like I have my tios and tias and my sister and brothers and cousins, like through our community, it feels like I feel like I'm the little sister of everybody. you know
Aw.
uh
I love that. And I feel that too,
mm,
especially in the bachata community. Like we come together really well to support each other. And it is very much a family feeling.
yeah, I love that.
That's great.
It means a lot to me.
All right, so the last thing I have here is just some quick questions, which also would be impossible for me to answer because I can never pick favorites. I'm really terrible at picking favorites because depending on how I feel, anything could be different. But
Okay, okay.
some final
Okay,
quick questions. So, your favorite artist in this moment?
Yoska Sarante.
Good one. Do you have a
Mm.
favorite song
By him. Oof.
or
uh,
any artist? It could be a different one.
okay. Favorite song all time is El Fracaso by Richie Ortega.
Mm,
That song, oh my God, it gets me all the time.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite instructor? I could guess. Based on your story, but maybe there's another one that's popped up.
No, but he's Carlos Cinta is still my favorite instructor because he has done a lot, so much for me. But I wouldn't want to leave anybody out. But yeah,
I
he's
know
still
it's
on the
hard to choose.
yeah he's still on my throne. So yeah,
Aw. He's gonna be really honored, and like he's gonna turn red when he hears that he's on your throne.
yeah.
We're gonna have to make sure that he sees this. Okay, do you have a favorite social dance partner? Someone that you like, you get each other.
Oh, okay, okay. So all-time favorite, like the best connection I ever had was with Wilkie. Wilke El Gato, the video I have on YouTube.
Yeah, the one
Like,
that Juan was talking about on Sin Filtro that day.
yeah, yeah, that definitely that's a connection. Like the first time we danced with each other, right away, like we took each other's hand and we had a amazing connection. And I remember Carlos Cinta and Ron, they were on the stage being DJs, and this was in Bachata con Sentimiento 2015. And and they would be amazed. They was like, I could hear them, wow, like sharing on and stuff. And it's unfortunate nobody filmed this, like our first dance, or like like our first meetup actually. But yeah, it went like this.
It was
It was
magical.
such a yeah, it was magical. Amazing moment.
Yeah, I've never met him, but I've also not been able to travel to Europe since I started dancing. So
Mm.
one day I'll make it and try to meet everybody over there.
Yes, that will
Okay,
be.
two more questions. Do you have a favorite event to dance? You
Okay,
just
as
love
I
going there.
already okay, huh?
Just a
What
place
is
that you just love going to this event. You want to go back all the time.
okay? That was Bachata con Sentimiento. That one I just mentioned. But I would say right now I would say Que Lo Que in Stockholm.
Okay. I
Yeah,
also want to go to that one.
I've been to it twice, both years, and it's amazing. Amazing. Everything is
So
good.
that same weekend is the weekend I host for La Bachata, usually in September.
Mm-hmm.
So not only would it be really hard for me to get there because of my teaching schedule at school, you know,
Yeah,
Sweden's a pretty long flight for a short weekend, you know,
yeah,
but it's also typically a for La Bachata weekend. But we'll see what happens after the pandemic because I might change it all up. So
yeah.
hopefully one year I can get there.
Yeah.
All right,
It's a good time. It's a good time.
and the last question: what's on your bachata wish list? Anything you could ask for bachata?
Oh my God. I always dreamt of be able to see all my favorite bachateros live. Like I'm
In the
bucking
same
them out.
concert?
Oh yeah, that was like in the same concert and meet and greet them, and maybe like I would probably like be terrified and die if I do this, but like be able to dance on the scene of like the concert. That would be so cool.
That is kick ass.
Yeah.
That is kick ass.
Mm,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having this first conversation with me. I adored hearing more about your story, and I think there's so much that I personally can resonate with, but I think will also resonate with
mm,
hopefully all the people that end up listening to this. So,
yeah. So
are there any final words that you want to share?
just thank you so much, Jessica, for this opportunity. I'm very humbled for this. And it's been fun sharing my voice. And I hope people will find this interesting. And I'm so excited to see where you're gonna take this and see who you will bring on here and to keep connecting with everybody. So
Awesome.
thank
Well, it's my
you.
pleasure. And
Yes.
last thing, how can people follow you?
Oh, okay. So I go by the name Isoldita both on Instagram and on YouTube. So if you just type in Isoldita, you will find my YouTube channel, or you can just type Isolde Bachata on YouTube and you will find probably many of my videos. And you can always connect with me on Instagram. I'm not that
Perfect.
I'm not that active on Facebook. I'm terrible of that actually. So so
That's
slow
okay.
replies on Facebook. I'm sorry guys, but by the way, we're going to publish this.
My intention is to probably, I'm going to have to post it to YouTube because of the length. And then I
Hmm.
will put it in a blog on the For La Bachata website. But from there, I can share it to Facebook. I can link it probably to Instagram, like do some clips. So,
Nice. I
yeah.
love the thought of that.
So we'll see where this adventure goes.